Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the ANZCAR Cup here at Phoenix Raceway in Arizona. We are live on Facebook at ANZCAR, and of course, Performance e-streaming over on YouTube for tonight's race, round 4 of the Cup Series. And joining me up here in the booth tonight, I have Mr. Mark Johansson. How are you going, Mark?
Yeah, good, Carl, and good evening, everybody. Happy to be back here after our Daytona stint. Glad I can make round 4 of what seems to be a very intriguing season.
Yeah, it's been a absolute Bobby Dazzler so far. We've had some fantastic finishes. Will we see another close one tonight? That is one of the big questions I think everybody is asking.
Yeah, I think so. By the looks of the points, mate, you've had what, 3 different winners out of 3 races too, which is always a good thing.
It is always a good start. Yes, 3 winners out of 3 races, of course. Neal Pearson and Andrew Dyson both taking wins for DPR. Danny G taking the first win for Mitch Motorsport last time out. But it is, well, it's round 4 now. Who will get it tonight? That's the big question. And it is a strong turnout, as always, in the Cup, and anybody's race.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a nasty thing there. Finding an outside walk. I still see these guys. These things are still snapping to the right at any given time.
They are indeed still an absolute beast to drive, and still people getting very used to them. Struggling, of course, in the especially in the sort of sort of 4 lap period where the tyres are getting up to temperature, and that's really been causing chaos in qualifying.
Yeah, you can see in the warm up too. It's not being very nice to the drivers.
No, it's been a bit of a tricky one tonight. And of course, we've got our 30 cars locked in this week, but that's going to be all changing as of next week as we get the 31st coming in, the lucky 31 coming in as of next week, because we've had such a great turnout, which has been amazing, with many, many cars coming to the races and wanting to get in. We've actually opened up a second split in that race. It's half distance, and the winner of that race will lock themselves in for next week's round in the lucky 31st spot. So the usual top 30 qualifiers, but then there'll be one person who can get locked into that 31st spot. We are getting ready, though, to grid up for tonight's race. 150 laps around here at the Phoenix Raceway with the dog leg open.
I was just going to say, Carl, that second tier race, that's a tough race also.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out. I'm looking forward to seeing who gets the victory there and locks himself in to the main event next week. It's going to be an interesting little turn of affairs. But we'll go into more detail on that later. Let's go through the starting grid. So on the front row, it is Brenton Hobson taking pole position over Michael Skurlock on the outside. Second row, we have Dyson and Martin. Third row is Hedeshide and Micklemore. Fourth row, we have Jones and Worley. Fifth is O'Shea and Douglas. Sixth, we have Neal and Phelps. Seventh row is Maloney and Urquio. Eighth row, we have Trahair and Foster. Ninth row, Pearson and Connor Nixon getting in, I think, for the first time in the Cup race. 10th row is Jaeger and Williams. 11th, we have Turner and Scotty Griffiths. 12th is Raymond and Schultz. 13th, we have Curtis and Jackson. 14th, Allison and Wellman. Danny G and Greg Spencer to round out the 30 cars as they get ready to head out. Obviously, a lot of big names throughout the field tonight, Mark. Who are you looking out for tonight?
Oh, look, I'm going off the form of some of the guys that race in with us, and you've got to put your money on Mr. Chopper Skurlock or Mitch. But I quite achiever there would have to be Norman Clark. Did he make it through? I think he did.
No, Norman
No,
Clarkson. No, no.
no.
Norman did not make it in. So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky one there. But the pace car has gone in. We're going to get ready to go green here tonight as Hobson leads away. And I've got to say, Hobbo has been on a really good run recently. One to watch out for coming round turn 3 and turn 4 for the first time tonight. We are going to go green here at Phoenix for round 4 of the ANZCAR Cup Series. And let's listen to these cars roar away. we get the first lap underway. We have a couple of little moments further back as I think it was Raymond Yeager had a bit of a moment with Connor Nixon just coming out of turn number 2, just goes sideways, catches Neal Pearson. So a little bit of chaos down the back, but relatively clean start for everybody. Helpson is in the lead. Oh, as we've got around in the background, it is O'Shea getting turned around with Ryan Jones, the first caution of the night. So we'll try and get the replay for this one as we go back. So looks like Ryan Jones and O'Shea made a bit of contact there, and O'Shea's gone around in the 610. And that is going to bring out the first caution. Maybe a little bit of netcode related flickering there for the pink version of the DPR team. Dave Douglas gets caught right on the outside wall. Unfortunately, nowhere to go.
Oh, that's hurt Dave.
Yeah, that was a big contact, and the curse of 200 starts in ANZCAR. It's one of those things that tends to happen. Unfortunately, Dave Douglas getting his 200th last night, of course, in the Thunder series. 201 tonight, not as kind to him either, unfortunately. But that's brought a few cars into pit lane. So Pearson, O'Shea, Brad Allison in there. They are all getting some repairs. Jones as well. So that's seen an early few cars come into pit lane to get some repairs done, get a few things fixed on those cars, and possibly top up the fuel. But obviously not going to be a fuel-sensitive race here tonight. Phoenix is always one of those tracks that's tricky on the old tyres, and that's going to be the thing people are going to have to watch out for. It is a 4-tyre limit tonight in the race, so obviously the tyres they start on, and then they've got 3 more sets throughout the race, so not much point changing them this early on, because that's going to leave you a little bit short for the rest of the race. But we'll see what happens there. It's good news for Kai Turner, who started in pit lane. He's going to get the lucky dog and get onto the league lap. So a not great start for Turner, who had fallen down a lap, is now going to be right on the back of that pack. 30 cars on the league lap, but a few of them are going to be a bit damaged. And just looking through, I think Riley Curtis just coming in for a bit of a service. And just getting a little bit of extra fuel for Riley Curtis there. So he is just popping in and just topping the car up just in case we get a long green period here tonight. Obviously, Phoenix, one of those tracks that catches a lot of people out, Mark. It's not the easiest oval to race on.
No, it's very, very different. And also it's been reconfigured again this year for this season. It got reconfigured. They moved the start-finish line almost into the dog leg, and that dog leg is very tricky. You've got to get it right coming down through the dog leg, and then there's a nasty bump if you get coming out of the dog leg back on the track in the wrong spot too. So there's lots of little tricks here. Some guys will drag the brake through the turns, and then others will downshift. Lots and lots of different ways, and no real right way for it to be raced.
Yeah, it's whatever gets you in, whatever you can get working is how to race this track generally. One of the things with the dogleg this season is with this new Cup car, of course, it has got that rear diffuser on it. And I've sort of heard a few drivers grumbling about just getting from the bank section onto the flat and then back onto the bank section. It does unsettle the car a little bit. So interesting to see how that works throughout the race. But the pace car has come in. Of course, one of the interesting things here at Phoenix is the restart zone. We have the Geico restart zone just on the exit of turn number 4. So it's not at the start-finish line like normal. It's just on this section here. So Hobson's going to lead away. Who is going to get this restart right? We're soon going to find out as we go back to Green Flag Racing here at Phoenix Raceway.
Hobson got a great start there. Nice jump.
Beautiful start by Hobbo. You can see all the cars swooping down to that dogleg, getting down on that section quite quickly. A few drivers keeping it around the outside. A lot of different lines being taken by these drivers. Too wide at the moment through the mid-pack, and they are racing hard. Not an easy thing to do here at Phoenix, especially on cooler tyres. Obviously, these guys wouldn't have got them up to temperatures just yet, as we did not get much running in there, but there is a massive angry pack behind Hobson at the moment. Dyson's trying to catch up, but the big stuff to watch is in that mid pack. They are three or four wide at some points across that dogleg, trying to settle into positions as they go through turns 1 and 2, getting into a good position. Almost a moment for Ruben Phelps and Lachlan Urquhart there as he gets a little bit loose in the mid corner. They managed to keep it green at the moment though, but very close racing there through the field.
I'm just going to do a quick shout out to one of our regular viewers, Carl. Abigail, welcome to the stream again. And good to, sorry, big turnaround.
Big moment there. Connor Nixon loses the car, and a little bit of net code between him and Urquio as well, and that's caused Urquio to go up into the wall. So big moment there, and unfortunately Urquio sort of saves the slide and then goes up into the wall. We've seen it so many times. This car snaps into that position, and that is going to cost him dearly. Of course, always a pleasure to have Gail with us. The mum of one of the competitors out there that's named Foster. I'll let you hazard a guess at which one that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a nasty little incident, and yeah, that happened with Connor Nixon just losing the side of the car, and unfortunately, it looks like a little bit of there was not really any contact between him and Urquio, so I think it might have just been a iRacing thing there, because that just sort of belted Urquio's car up into the wall. A few cars coming into pit lane, so
Yeah,
Jackson, Danny G, Spencer, O'Shea, Turner, Curtis, Allison, and Urquio all in pit lane.
just going to say that, Carl, there's a few guys coming in. I'm just trying to see if we can see what they're doing there. Brad's carrying a quite a bit of damage on the front of his car. Everyone else seems like it's just been a top up with fuel. Brad's still sitting in the pit lane. Looks like he's going to try and get some of that damage repaired.
Yeah, getting the old e-hammers out and the e-duct tape out to try and get that thing looking a little bit better. Never fun when you get damage early on the race, and Allison's been having a stellar season so far this year as well. While we've got this caution, we'll just run through the standings. I didn't get a chance to do that prior, I don't think. I know. So it is Pearson in the lead of the championship, 15 points ahead of teammate Dyson. Hobson in third at the moment. It's showing that stellar year so far, 18 points behind the leader. Wally is in fourth position, 21 points down. 22 points down is Martin in fifth. Sixth is Allison, 25 off the lead. Foster in seventh, 36 off the lead. 39 off the lead is Jackson in eighth. Ninth is Curtis, 40 off the lead. And 41 down is Gary Wellman in 10th.
I'm just going further down. Carl, the big mover of last week was Nathan Button. He's jumped 16 spots.
Yeah, very good run so far. It's tricky to do sometimes, getting a good run here at Phoenix because it can be a really hard place to pass. But a nice little run there at the moment, so that is good to see.
So who's the money on here, Carl? Inside or the outside?
Hobson has had such a good run every time, but we know Dyson is quick, and I think Hobbo is going to get that good restart again. Watch Dyson try and catch up to him. We'll see how this one goes.
Again, nice jump, early jump. JCW is hanging. No, it's not. Sorry, it's Daniel hanging tough on the outside there through 2 and 3. 2 and 3.
Oh, as he gets into by Skurlock. Oh. That's all for commentator there, Mark. That's your first strike, mate. Absolutely. It's just Skurlock could not get that car turned in. That thing looks like a ship going through that corner then. Could not get the front end of that thing sticking.
Could be because of the tyres cooling down a little bit with the caution, but
Yeah, definitely a thing that really will affect these cars. As we said before, these cars do not like cold tires. You really struggle on them. And we've seen it a fair few times since the launch of this new variant of the Cup car, of course, that people really struggle on those cold tyres. And it really caused issue in qualifying. But once you get around about 4 to 5 laps into them and they start to warm up, these things really come alive and become a lot easier to drive. Although a few people will get caught out by the odd sudden snap as well. You have to be careful of that one.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot more guys now starting to venture down through that dog leg. I was just watching a bit further in the pack. Um, so that the tyres will be starting to get nice and warm now, starting to settle in, starting to get a standard pressure in them, and they're really venturing down through that dog leg.
Adventures here in Phoenix. It's one of those strange things about the track, the fact that you do have that, especially when the dogleg is open, as all Micklemore up into the wall. Bit of contact there for Joshy into turn number two. Just coming out of that dogleg section, was up aside the 22 of Barry Neal. And then a little bit of a side draft caught him out, I think, and he's just gone sailing up into the concrete barriers there, which is never a good thing here at Phoenix either. The barriers here, of course, they jut out a little bit. They're not really, um, they're not sort of set in their places like most racetracks, are they?
No, definitely not. They tend to have a little bit of a wobble through them down the straights, and then they're reasonably well packed in around the turns. I know a speedway track that used to be like that here in Australia.
It makes things a bit more interesting. Great battle going on at the moment for 10th position between Dave Douglas and Foster. Foster just giving a little bit of a bump and run, trying to get up to Neal as well. Those guys are giving a nice little bit of gentle touching, I'd say, which of course is allowed in.
Oh,
Oh,
lock up there by Mitch.
big one there for Micklemore. That was a big moment. Managed to save that car very well, and that just again, we talk about the talent of these drivers. Just saving a car in that moment, that's a decent job there. That car got very slidey there, and yeah, very good to save that lockup. But yeah, of course, NASCAR racing, you do have that bit of extra contact allowed. It's one of those series where you can absolutely enjoy a little bit of rubbing here on the old doors. And from the rear, as Foster goes into the back of Neal, as there's all proper contact, and around they go. A big accident there. That was a big, big accident. And yeah, Foster just catching the back of Barry Neal there and just hearing over the radio, maybe connectivity might have
Yeah,
been the issue there. But then Douglas got cleaned up as well from behind. I think that might have been. I'm trying to think, see who that was behind Douglas. Um, just behind Dave Douglas, the car that was behind him. It was Aiden Schultz. Just did not manage to brake in time as those cars slowed down in the corner, and he was not able to get that one pulled up in the moment, and has gone heavily into the back of Dave Douglas, and that's caused a bit of a ripple effect through the field.
yeah. That I'd say Aiden was a little bit blinded there by that. Um, just I'm just going to jump on board with him here quickly.
Well, the trouble is in that situation, of course, you have
Yeah,
a very big pillar on the inside of the car that makes it tricky to see sometimes, and especially when you're behind somebody. There's behind Douglas there as well. You've got a car in front of you, so you can't see what's going on up ahead of you as well. The view is very limited in these vehicles, and it's something that people tend to forget is you can't see what we're seeing outside of the cars. Inside, there is much less view.
yeah. I just had a quick look, and he was just caught out how quick Dave slowed, and he come through that turn, and he was trying to head up track, so that would have been a bit of a shock there, and it's like, oh man,
Never fun when you're coming on. to an accident at the speeds that these cars are doing in those corners. I mean, you're doing a fair amount of speed into a corner like that as well. Sort of the just below the 200 km/h mark, in braking in that section, dropping down to around about the 180, 170 mark, it is very high speed as well. And human reaction time can only do so much, unfortunately.
Riley Curtis is in pit lane also, along with Aidan Schultz. I'll just see what Riley's going to do here. Riley's just taken on fuel, and it looks like Aidan's taken fuel and tyres because he's still in pit lane.
Yeah, it's getting some repairs done as well. It'd be interesting to see if he's. I think he's just got a long repair time because there's a lot of damage to the front of that car. He has taken tyres, but a lot of damage to that one. So, and that's the kind of thing as well that really hurts a car like this as well because it hurts the cooling as well. Obviously, you get damage to the radiator, and that can be night over and done with. But those guys that come in, they have taken tyres as well. So a fair few of them have taken some fresh tyres. 24 laps in, so they should be about a good second faster on those fresh tyres. So it'll be interesting to see how they go throughout the field.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at Dave's car, for sale or slightly used, front and rear damage. Yeah, so that's going to put him at a disadvantage, but not as big a disadvantage as some of the mile and a half tracks.
Well, that's it. I mean, obviously here at Phoenix, it's not all about top end speed. It can cause some problems with some wear rates on the tyres. Those are things that are not fun, but it's not as it's not a death sentence, so to say. Uh, we'll see how this one goes. And look, we've seen some more damaged cars than that winning this season. I mean, think back to Dyson's car at the Daytona race. I think there was barely any car left at the end of that one.
Yeah, it was duct tape, I think.
That tape probably had a bit more structural integrity to it. It was a bit worse for wear, but we are getting ready for the restart again. Hobson down on the low line, Dyson on the outside. Who is going to get away well here as Dyson tries to come down? Thinks about trying a different strategy this time. Hobson leaves it a little bit later and catches Dyson out a little bit. This is going to give Skurlock a nice run here up into turn number 2. Will Skurlock be able to make the move? He's got the inside here, but Dyson covers him off nicely. It is still Hobson and Dyson in the lead. A little bit further back, got Header Sheet and then 2 purple cars. Martin and Worley battling away there as well. Been a relatively quiet start of the year for Jason Martin. Not been having the best runs in this new car, so he will be hoping to have a better finish tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just still watching Dave Douglas, and I'll tell you what, that damage seems to be working better for him.
It's damaged the car in such a way it's made it better. That's what you want to have happen.
Yeah. He's got a good turn of speed there. He's catching the guys in front of him reasonably quick.
I think back to Foster last week. Actually, he got caught up in quite a few accidents and had barely any car left, and I think it was just pure rage that got him through to the end of the race in the top 10. So will we see a similar situation for Douglas tonight? He's going to drive around all that damage and work his way back through the field. Will we see another damaged car having a good run tonight? Let's hope so for Dave's case.
Yeah, definitely. But it looks like they've all started to settle down a bit. That front group are now gone into single file, but it's still on hard at the back. Still going 2 and 3 wide through that dogleg towards the back of the field.
Yeah, some absolute battles going on throughout the pack here. Good evening to Mr. Hamish Gallagher watching us on Facebook. Always a pleasure to have Hamish around. Like to see him back. Oh, a bit of a lock-up for Skurlock there, up at the front of the field. Manages to save it, but we have got a caution now.
Another caution. Again, and unfortunately, I don't want to say this. Guess who's involved in it?
Oh, no, it's not Dave again, is it?
Yeah, he's involved in there.
So Aiden Schultz, I can see he's involved in that one as well. So what's happened here? We'll soon find out as we go to the replay. So going back to this one.
Just
All
happened in
contact
front.
between Schultz and who was that in front? Greg Spencer.
Yep.
So Spencer and Schultz had a bit of contact, and then a whole heap of cars have gone into the back of them, including, as you say, Dave Douglas.
Barry, Paul Jackson's there.
Lachlan Urquio. Scotty Griffiths getting really unlucky. Unfortunately, he got squeezed up at the top. Scotty Griffiths is the car that's really turned into a bit of a sandwich up there. And I think probably the driver that got least damage out of that accident is actually Dave Douglas. So very unlucky again for Dave, but I think he sort of got relatively less knocked out than some of the other drivers in that one. But yeah, that was a huge accident. A lot of drivers caught up in that one, and a
Yeah.
lot of fast cars that have been taken out as well.
Dave's taking tyres, all 4 tyres, and he's still in pit lane getting some damage repaired. He's underway now.
The rear of that car has seen better days. You can tell he's not hiding anything in there though, so there's no contraband in the back of that car anymore because he's had to. It's a little bit easy to see on board now. But yeah, it's been a rough night so far, and this is one of Douglas's quick tracks as well. He is very good around here at Phoenix, so it's a shame to see one of those cars that we know has got a good turn of speed just getting knocked out like that. Scotty Griffiths as well. Shame to see him caught up in that one. He's been a bit unlucky this season. Of course, got caught up in a big accident at Daytona as well.
Oh.
And yeah, a lot of front end damage on a few of those cars too. So that's really going to affect them and their cooling.
So does he go early again, or does he wait until late in the restart zone?
Well, we're about to find out what's it going to be for Hobson. He's had to make a few restarts now, and again, he gets away perfectly. Just absolutely drops the field. And this is the time we have to be careful on those restarts because those tyres are getting old, and it is very easy to loop the car when you put your foot down.
Yeah, definitely. And the way these things just get the power to the ground, it's can snap very easily on you.
Yeah, it is really easy to lose that car. Very, very tricky to get that one working. As they are getting up into positions at the moment. It is Hobson in the lead ahead of Dyson at the moment. And this battle is, I think we're going to get a good battle up the front. Watch out for Heddersheet as well and Skerlock because those are pretty hungry. And then, of course, Wally and Martin as well.
Yeah, and
It is
Phelps is up there too. He's just making that inside line work fairly good for him.
Pearson working his way through the field as well. Connor Nixon having a really good run in his I'm pretty sure, first Cup appearance for Nixon. I have to think back now, but yeah, Nixon, one of the newer drivers to the series, having a good run up there. Currently in 11th position as Ryan Jones gets past us. All the caution flag flies once more. And what was that one for? So trying to figure out what happened to this caution. So we'll just get the replay up for us now. Looks like it might be Brad Allison. Oh no, it was Dave Douglas. Oh, and that is Dave's night over and done with. He had a massive snap going into turn number turn number one. And then that car has just harpooned itself up into the wall, and that is the end of Douglas's night. It went from bad to worse again. and I don't think it could get any worse at the end of that one.
No, definitely not.
That was a big, big hit as well. It just loses it in the mid corner. You see there, just smashed straight up into the wall. That engine would have been toast.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see by here, like it's just he's probably just going to get the gas on that a little bit too quick, and it's just snapped on him.
And they have got some a fair few cars into pit lane as well. So we've got a few cars still out there. So Hobson, Dyson, Worley, Martin, Phelps, all stayed out. Pearson's come into pit lane, got tyres by the looks of things. Luke Trahere has stuck it out there as well, and then everybody else has pitted. So going to be interesting to see how this one goes for those guys that have stuck it out there. Obviously, wait, or is my timer lying to me? No, sorry, there we go. Sorry, I was just waiting for things to update itself. So yeah, split of strategies now. We have had 37 laps, quite a few interrupted laps, unfortunately, as we have seen the caution flag fly, and that's going to help with the old fuel mileage and also tyre wear as well. But you've got to say, at this stage of the race, especially here at Phoenix, fresher tyres are going to be a huge advantage.
Especially on the restart. But the problem there, though, Carl, is then you've got tyres that may have got a few laps on them, but then you've got tyres that are fresh, and it's going to take a few laps to get up to temp and to that optimum temp where they'll start working. So it's the cars on fresher tyres, got to be careful that they don't get the gas down too quick, and then we see what has been happening, and the car snapping loose on them. Then you've got the guys at the back, that mid-pack and back on, where they're on warmer tyres, but they may get wheel spin because of the tyre wear on the tyres. It's kind of sort of, how do you say, Russian roulette without a loaded gun.
That's it. It's NASCAR roulette, really, isn't it? You know,
Definitely.
from experience, I've not got a grand experience of racing these cars, but it seems that the warm tyres make a difference, for sure. So it's been interesting to see how these cars go as well through this season, because it does seem like the new car is very different to how it was in the old days. So these old tyres may still have a chance. So it could be track position being key here tonight, but we'll find out in just a few short moments as we go back to green flag racing here for the ANZCAR Cup Series here at Phoenix Raceway in Arizona. There we go. Brain went dead there for a couple of moments, but we are going back to green flag racing. How will the old tyres go? We're going to find out as Hobson leads away once more. When does he drop the loud pedal? Now he does. Beautiful start for Hobson. Again, gets away very cleanly. Those cars on the fresh tyres just have to get them up to temperature now. Don't push too hard. Just take a couple of laps to settle in. And then start making your moves on those fresh tyres, because you'll be able to use that grip to your advantage. Go a little bit higher on the line. Go a bit lower than some of those other cars and really start to make them pay.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say there before, the desert heat's getting to you, mate.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's a sunny 26 degrees temperature here in the broadcast booth and at the track itself. 31-degree track temperature, so not the hottest track temperatures we've seen. Obviously, it can get very warm here in the desert sun.
Yeah, definitely. I know I wouldn't like to be out there in the real desert at the time of year that these boys are normally running there. I'll stick to the air conditioning, thanks.
Absolutely. Air conditioning is key. Neal Pearson is on an absolute charge now on those fresh tyres, getting up to Jason Martin now. And just got past Jason Martin, I think, actually, and now behind Philip Worley. So he's in a purple car sandwich. One of them is teammate, one of them is Jason Martin. Two very hard, very fast drivers, of course. Worley in his second season in the Cup Series, and we have seen him come on leaps and bounds, of course, winning the Clash earlier in the year. very, very quick driver. He's got Dyson ahead of him. It's a bit of a DPR front of the field once more. They are having another great run, but currently it is Hobson leading. So Hobson leading away at the moment, and he is doing the job up at front for Brent's gone dead again for team now. This is always good when this kind of thing happens. Synergy. I think pretty sure. There we go. So there we go. Comes back to me in the end. But DPR again having another strong run. They have had such a good start to the season so far this year, and just been really, really hard to beat up the front. While other teams have been struggling, they have been coming on leaps and bounds, and it seems this new car is really paying off for them.
I'm just looking further back. I tell you what, there is definitely some damaged race cars out there tonight. Guys missing front ends, guys missing rear ends. So yeah, some guys are not having a good night.
We've only lost 2 drivers though, so still 28 cars in the running at the moment. Unfortunately, we lost Dave Douglas and Aidan Schultz. Their cars have got too much damage to continue, and they are out of this race. But as you say, the Walking Dead, the Walking Wounded, I should say, are out there in Force Night. We've got a fair few cars looking a bit worse for wear, but I guess one of the good things at Phoenix is you're not really reliant on that aero for getting you to go fast. It's more of a mechanical grip thing. But any damage to a race car is not going to make it as effective as it is when it has no damage to it.
No, it's still, if you're carrying damage, you're still going to struggle with the lack of aero, but it's not a big thing. It's like a catch-22 situation where you want the aero to keep the car pinned to the road, but it's not a great thing, a bad thing to have a little bit of damage. But I can tell you now, Carl, those cars at the back with no front end, no spoiler or anything, they will be feeling the car push big time.
They will be indeed. Up at the front, though, Pearson and Hedersheed on a bit of a flyer now. Hedersheed, of course, on fresh tyres as well. So the Atari driver having a good run. Of course, he has got a full season this year as well. And good to see him, Daniel, one of those really quick drivers. And we've seen him have some really good qualifying runs. Had some unfortunate incidents in the longer stages of the race and a few little moments, but definitely got the speed in him. Really doing well this season for his first full run season, and of course a winner of last year in the Cup Series as well on his debut.
I don't know if Matt can whisper in our ear if he can check whether Ruben Phelps took tyres on that last stop, because he is dropping back through the field big time.
No, Ruben did not take any. He has stayed it out there, so no pit stops for Ruben Phelps at the moment.
Because he's gone from 6th place and he's dropped 9 spots since the race restart.
Plummeting down the field, and that's the risk, I think. But of course, we could see a spat of late cautions. Now, all those people that have taken tyres now have used up one of their set of tyres, so they've only got 2 sets remaining for the rest of this race. So if in theory we see another caution in the next 20 laps or so, I think we'll see everybody coming in to get a fresh set of boots, and that could really affect those guys that have taken tyres early in the race, because they will be effectively down a set. So people like Hobson, Dyson, Philip Worley, who've stayed out, not taken tyres, Ruben Phelps, Jason Martin, they have all got an extra set of tyres to play with if we get a few more cautions in this race. But it is always a gamble, of course, and gambling, it either pays off or it doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. And really, this is a track where you can take that gamble and still kind of sort of recover from it. But once you get 2 or 3 laps down, it's hard to come back here.
Of course, one of the big things here is when you do take that pit stop, it is a relatively long pit lane. Going to be in pit lane for a fairly long time. You're going to drop yourself a lap at least, maybe two. So if there's green flag stops, it could be really detrimental to the guys. And those guys that have stuck out, they're going to have to come in earlier than the guys that pitted, of course. So it leaves those guys that have taken that pit stop with a little bit more leeway in their strategy. So they've got a few more options that they can play with, and it could end up paying off for them if there is a later caution, if we get a nice long green stint here. Of course, if it's green to the end, again, it could help them out as they might be able to work something out. They'll have fresher tyres for the end of the race, of course, so it will be a bit of a chop change battle. But at the moment, Hobson is making the old tyres work. One of the faster cars out there, still setting 28.7s on his last lap. Drivers on fresh tyres around about the same time. So Hobson is making this work. Looks like those fresh tyres have started to plateau a little bit.
Yeah, that front group, it's just padded out a little bit, and yeah, there's not a lot of action there at the moment. But I reckon with about 10 to 20 to go, it'll all be on again.
As is often the case, we've seen it 3 times so far this year. Finishes where it has been pretty much absolutely nothing at the finish line. Barely a cigarette paper covering the front too. Will we see it again tonight? That is going to be the question. A big shout out and thank you to all the viewers out there tonight on YouTube and Facebook. We appreciate you coming along. It always helps us out, and we love being a broadcast to you. So thank you for joining us tonight and being with us for this race here at Phoenix. So just looking through the field at the moment, we've got a great battle going on. Around about 14th onwards at the moment. Very close racing throughout the field still. There are many battles happening. Keeping an eye as well. Good fight going on as well for 6th position between Jones and Skurlock. Foster and Maloney as well are having a bit of a battle too. Foster working his way back up the pack after that earlier incident. Has a little bit of contact there, I think, between Jones and Skurlock. Just a little bit of a rub to the front end of the 350 as Ryan Jones keeps that car planted in the middle at the moment. Philip Wally just leading that pack, of course. Wally not changing his tyres, so he's on those older tyres, but he's keeping his car up there. He's doing a really good job of keeping pace.
Yeah, with the older tyres, I think you'll find that they're probably just backing out a little bit sooner and then getting on the gas a little bit later.
It's a skill to keep the car moving on old tyres, of course, and it's not an easy thing to master, but if you can get it working, you can really make it work. And so far, Hobson and Dyson have really done a great job of it. But it is a great little battle starting to heat up now for 5th position. As Wally's sitting there, as two we've got coming in pit lane. Jake Maloney coming into pit lane. So, just looking back to see if that could be possible from damage. A big hit into the wall for Maloney. So he has decided that that is not feeling right. And unfortunately, I think that is it for Jake Maloney, one of the fastest drivers out there, but that is him out of the race as well. But interesting to see the road racing expertise up at the front at the moment. We know Hobbo, Dyson, Hedershy, Pearson, Worley, all absolute masters of the road courses, and they seem to be making this car work at the moment. Skurlock is not too bad on them either. You know, these are all drivers that tend to do very well at road courses traditionally. They are making these cars work here at Phoenix. So that little bit of expertise, just being that little bit of a brake and throttle management, I'd say, that is just making a bit of difference for the leaders over the rest of the field.
Yeah, these cars seem to be going down a little bit further, closer to the sister cars on the road racing with the lower profile tyres. So yeah, it's probably a little bit of an advantage for them.
Nice move there from the 350 of Skurlock on the 233 of Philip Worley. sailing past there. And I think this is where those old tyres might just be falling off the cliff a little bit as Wally's starting to struggle a little bit. But yeah, as you say, these new cars, they have changed a lot over the old gen with lower profile tyres, of course. Got 5 gears in there now as well with a sequential box. So that changes things up a little bit. They are very different to drive. So it has been interesting to see. Looking back a little bit, Ruben Phelps dropping back again a little bit further. He's fighting it out with Luke Trahair at the moment, Josh Micklemore, Kai Turner, Stevie Dubb, Riley Curtis, and I think that's it for that group of cars at the moment. But they're having a good little battle a bit further down the field. Side-by-side action going on. And as we start to see this stint fall into a longer stage now, we're going to see that racing start to appear as people get a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, the longer you go in these stints, the easier, well, it's not always easier it gets, but you get yourself into a rhythm that's important and a little bit less chance possibly of that caution coming out.
Yeah, I'm just going back through the field. The big movers here tonight. Neal Pearson started 17th. He's up into 4th. Ed Foster, 16th up to 8th. Daniel, forgive me, Daniel, but I ain't even going to try and pronounce your last name.
Just go Danny G. That's the easiest
Danny
way of
G,
doing it. Yeah.
Started 29th and he's up into 10th. So some very, very big charges in the field.
I always mispronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's Greskovitz, but it's always guaranteed to say the wrong way. So we just go with Danny G just to make life easier.
You can mispronounce it. I don't want him chasing me.
When in doubt, just go with a single letter. That is what I found in commentary. It's paid off for me many times. It makes life easier as well. Josh Micklemore putting the pressure on Luke Trahair down in 17th position at the moment. Gets a good run out of turn number 4. The 31 getting down inside and making the pass, getting through for that position. And is he going to be able to make it stick? Looks like he might have just got that one working for him.
Yeah. I'll tell you what else is amazing too, Carl, is we've still got 26 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's a really decent amount out there at the moment, and nice to see so many people still on the league lap. And this is why the Cup has been so fiercely competitive this season. It's been so close as well. We were talking in practice, the field were covered by almost less than a second, which is it's just snap of your fingers. It is absolutely no time between the top and the bottom of the grid. And all it takes is just the slightest mistake, and you're going to lose yourself a couple of positions in these races. It is really stepped up with pressure. As Hedeshid gets a big snap of oversteer coming out of 2, manages to save the slide, just drifting that car around. But that is going to give Pearson the run on him now. Just looking a little bit further down, Matty Ray on the move in the number 83, up 10 positions, and something we often see with Matty Ray is that car is pretty pristine at the moment. I think there is actually a couple of scratches on it, which is a little bit Matty Ray.
Sorry, mate. I was just going to. Dylan O'Shea and Ed Foster's having a cracker of a battle here for 8th and 9th.
Yeah, good battle. We've seen it. Dylan O'Shea, rookie to the series, of course, with DPR, and he's been having some really good runs. Very quick young driver, and has been taking it to people, just getting better and better as well each race. Foster getting on the outside, should get a better run off the corner. O'Shea on the inside here. They're going to be getting a run down the former front straight here at Phoenix. Foster gets the run off the high line now. O'Shea just able to carry a bit more speed, a little bit of rubbing there, just that slight bit of contact. I don't think they actually made contact in that corner, but they almost did. And that's put Foster just on the back foot a little bit. Foster will keep his foot in, though. This fight is going on side by side here at Phoenix.
Looks like he's got him.
Beautiful move there from O'Shea coming up as Foster gives him a little how you doing there? I think that was a little bit of a bit of a just a reminder of who you're racing against there, young rookie. But nicely done. And watch out for Danny G behind him as well. Saw this last week with Danny G. He just sort of crept in from nowhere and ended up winning the race. One of those drivers I often sort of say silent assassin with Danny G is you sort of won't notice him all race long, and then he'll be leading.
I think Ed may be struggling on those tyres.
Yeah, he's starting to fall back a tiny bit. Of course, fair bit of damage on Foster's car from earlier on in the race, and that tends to hurt tyre wear a bit as well. It makes sometimes the long runs a little bit harder than they need to be, and that's where having a nice, clean, fresh car really pay off for you. Hobson still leading on lap 75 of the race, so we're very much at that halfway point. So expect to see the
Ryan's in the pit lane.
yeah.
Ryan Jones.
Took the words out of my mouth. Well, I was about to say, look for those cars coming in for their stops around about now. I expect to see Hobson coming in probably this or the next lap, maybe. They've probably saved a bit of fuel, so they might leave it another couple of laps. They've still got some good pace out there, in all honesty.
He overshot his pit a little bit, so that definitely didn't help. So it looks like the right side's up, left side's up. So 4 tyres and fuel for Ryan Jones, and he's off again.
And he's going to try and use that undercut to his advantage now. Of course, you don't want to go too hard, too fast, of course, on those cold tyres, because it is easy to make that little mistake on them in these cars. But once he gets up to pace, he's going to have a lot of advantage, and we'll see him coming up. The front runners still keeping it out there at the moment. They are trying to extend their stints, I reckon, try and go as long as possible, and they're still setting great times. They're still setting some of the faster times out there, which is impressive stuff, considering they have done 77 laps on these tyres. People behind them, 55 laps, 41 laps for Skurlock and Heddersheet. They have been out here a long time on those tyres, and they're still making them work.
Well, just looking at the times, Brendan, Mr. Hobson's last lap was a 29.2, and his qualifying time, if I can find it, or his practice time was a 20. Practice time was a 28.03. So that's still very impressive on 79 lap old tyres.
Yeah, that is incredible pace retention there, and he is keeping it in those low 29s at the moment. Fastest lap of the race for Hobson is 28.1. Fastest lap of the race is Heddersheet with a 28 dead. So it is very close there, but they fuel-wise, they've probably got a good couple of laps left in there, actually. They can probably go another 10, 15 laps, I'd say, with not having to worry about fuel too much. So, especially with those cautions, they've probably got a little bit more fuel in there than they would have expected to have at this stage of the race. Foster coming into pit lane, so Foster's pulled the trigger now. So we're starting to see those green flag pit stops come out, and this is where it can gain you big or lose you out. So we'll see how Foster does in pit lane coming into his bay. Of course, these cars can be a bit tricky to stop. You've got to run the brake a little bit as you're coming into pit lane, just sort of warm up the brakes a little bit. Otherwise, they tend to just lock or just not work effectively, and you overshoot your pit box. And it's caught many drivers out this season. But Foster getting a full service on the 53 Natari, of course.
Sorry.
Raymond Jaeger. Jaeger having the biggest fishtail of the night there. Oh, avoiding. Who was he avoiding there?
Eight.
He was avoiding Nixon. So Connor Nixon. That was almost a caution there. Connor Nixon losing it out of turn 2. Goes into the wall. Jaeger just cat-like reflexes there. Watch this from Jaeger. That was one heck of a, avoidance there. As he comes out the corner to find Nixon up in the wall. I think we might be a bit ahead at the moment. So, and the replay up. He just absolutely saved that one from a wreck. A very, very good save by Raymond Jaeger.
That was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that was a great save.
Unfortunately, can't find the replay on that one, but yeah, a absolute tremendous save from Jaeger. That is going to be a that will have got the heart racing. We've got Lachlan Acquia coming into pit lane, Ruben Phelps, Paul Jackson as well. They've come in, so a few more stoppers. Still keeping it out there though is Hobson. Led every
Oh,
lap.
Ruben has absolutely totally missed his pit bay.
Oh, that is going to hurt, especially with losing time earlier in the race as well on those old tyres.
He's had to have 3 or 4 goes at getting into his pit bay. That's his night done.
Had to Austin Powers it into the pit lane there, and that is disastrous there. Unfortunately, that is not what you want to have happen in the race. Got 64 laps remaining. Still Hobson leading. Led every lap of the race so far, so I'm pretty sure, Mr. Hobson. So good job so far. But that it will stop eventually when he has to come into pit lane. Can't be too far off. I'd say probably another 10 laps, and he'll be looking at coming into the lane. As you can see, Stevie Dub there on fresh tyres just absolutely sailing past now. Of course, what these guys will want to see is a caution, maybe. If a caution flag comes out, it's going to really help them out. Those guys that stopped early will not want to see that. So if there's no caution, those guys that stopped early will get a nice jump. They'll get a leapfrog as those fresh tyres help them out with their pace. The guys on fresh tyres at the moment, 28 ones last time round, fastest lap for Stevie Dub. Of the drivers out there, 21 for him, 29.3 for Hobson. So you can see the difference between those drivers. It is quite a gap on those tyres. But as you say, lose a lot of time in pit lane. They're all down a lap
Yeah,
at the moment. So if that caution flag comes out, it's really going to hurt them. Luke Trahan
yeah.
coming in pit lane.
So Ruben's to come into the pits and back out 62 seconds, mate. That's that's a big loss there for him.
That is so very painful. That is one of those. It's one of those things when you're driving, is your heart just sinks. As
Oh,
Luke Trahan makes a mistake as well in the 43. So we're seeing it a few times tonight. As we said, you got to be careful. You got to ride those brakes getting into pit lane to get the brakes up to temperature. Obviously, going to have a little bit of temperature here at Phoenix anyway because you're on them a bit, but definitely struggling to get these cars stopped in pit lane still.
yeah, and on cement too, it doesn't. The cement's not as easy as the asphalt. So yeah, guys have just got to be aware that they're changing surfaces too.
Yeah, it's a bit like switching from well, it's like driving on ice almost when you get on that. It is horrible. Um, it's never fun when you switch from nice sticky asphalt to the old cement, and yeah, that could really throw you out. But the race has definitely started to settle in a little bit now, which is what we want to see. Uh, Lots of different strategies going on, which is great, and hopefully we'll get to see this one play out properly. As said, I imagine we're going to see those front pack coming in relatively shortly. You don't want to leave it too late, obviously, um, because that could really cost you later in the race.
Yeah, definitely. So these guys are going to try and stay out and just do the one more stop to the end of the race. So it'd be interesting. Should we get a caution? The leaders want a caution now, of course. So that resets everything for them. As you said, Carl, the guys that stopped a couple of laps earlier want to keep the green out there.
Yeah, there's going to be
Oh,
a little that little bit of contact just mid corner between Traher and Hobson. I think just a
yeah,
little rub
just a
in the mid
little
corner.
rub, and that'll
Uh,
be Hobson's tyres starting to really drop off now.
yeah, and you can see that's that real lack of grip in the mid corner, and I think it caught Traher out. Just not expecting him to slow up that much, and that's the difference of fresh tyres to 92 lap old tyres. He's been out there 93 laps now on those tyres for Hobson. Those things will be well. I don't think I'd pass any police checks or anything like that. They'll be fairly second hand by now.
Yeah, definitely. And catching up on the lap cars, so this could play into Dyso's hands a little bit.
Yeah, Dyson 2 seconds off the lead, so Hobson's pulled out a nice gap at the moment, and they've got a good 4 seconds over Pearson behind him for Dyson. So Hobson has got a 6 second lead over Neil Pearson in third. Then Skurlock is just behind Pearson with Heddersteed there as well. Worley, O'Shea, Danny G, Barry Neal, and Matty Ray rounding out the top 10 at the moment. But of course, pit stops will be happening shortly. Obviously, those caution laps will have helped fuel mileage a fair bit. They'll get a good extra 3 to 5 laps of fuel, I think, out of all those cautions that we had at the front. So they'll be able to go that little bit longer. But it's going to be useful for people like Pearson.
Dyson's in. Dyson is in pit lane.
Okay, so Dyson has pulled the trigger as I think Ryan Jones has just made his lap back. So Ryan Jones back on the lead lap now. First of those pit stoppers, he has got the lead of that group. Dyson, Pearson, Worley, O'Shea, DPR coming into pit lane in force there. So obviously DPR working together there to make that pit stop.
Hobson stayed out for another lap.
Question is, how long can Hobson do it now? I mean, that's going to be the interesting one. Obviously, the longer he stays out there, the fresher tyres he's going to have to the end of the race. So that could be a slight advantage. But we have seen them plateau a bit as well. So obviously, they're good for the first 15 or 20 laps, but then they sort of get to a point where they're no longer giving you that advantage. So I think Hobson is just hoping that possibly a caution comes out now. He is really, really hoping for that. Meanwhile, Foster just gets past Kai Turner. So he is chasing down Brenton Hobson as well to get back on the lead lap. So if he can do that, then he'll be in a slightly safer spot as Hobson's in.
I was just going to say, he can't have saved that much more fuel.
A 98 lap run for Hobson. That's a fairly decent stint here at Phoenix. That is a long time out on those tyres. Very well done indeed. But this is going to stir things up a little bit as Daniel Heddersheed takes the lead of the race now on those tyres that have done 63 laps. So he'll be able to stick it out there a little bit longer. So those guys that Pearson back in pit lane. So something for Pearson is out of the car. So something has happened for Pearson, unfortunately, and it looks like he is out of the race. So that is a big, big loss for the race because Neil Pearson leading the championship coming into this one. That's a strange one. So obviously something's happened and caused Pearson to have to go away here. And that is unfortunately the number 9 out of this race. One of the fast cars that was looking good here tonight.
There's he's not on a race channel either, so I can't grab hold of him.
No, so I'm sure we'll find out what happened at some stage. But yeah, hopefully everything is okay. Contact for Hobson! Hobson and Heddersheed make contact! And that is a huge one. I think that was Heddersheed just... Was he... They were going 3 wide, going through the dogleg. Hobson's come up and Heddersheed sort of in the middle there. And that's the danger of the dogleg sometimes. They were 3 wide coming up there and just a little bit of contact to the rear of Hobson's car. Huge, huge accident. And that is not what some of those drivers would have wanted to see. A fair few of them managed to get back on the lead lap. So lead lap drivers at the moment is Heddersheed, Micklemore, Raymond, Jaeger, Jones, Nixon, Foster, Dyson, Griffiths, and Martin. Philip Worley will get the lucky dog. But the rest of them are going to be struggling from there. This means a free stop for those cars that were on the lead lap.
The thing is too, Carl, is that now we've seen the championship leader go out. has that put Mr. Hobson out, who's in third?
Yeah, that's a big, big change in the championship. It's still a long way to go this season, but those are two big competitors that are going to be, well, that's going to change the front of the field now. Um, Obviously, Andrew Dyson is next in the championship line, sitting there in second with Philip Worley. So Philip Worley, of course, is going to get his lap back, I think. Um, I'm trying to see who
That
was at the
that
time. But
that is a big hit into the outside wall.
yeah, it's a shame. That was a that is a real shame as well because Hobson was having a really good run this night. Very strong race, and just that little possibly got all clear from the spotter there, but they were three wide. And look, that is one of the perils of this track. It's Dyson who gets the lucky dog there. So Dyson has got his lap back. He stopped 7 laps ago. So he will probably stick it out there in all honesty and not worry about changing tyres. Um, but the
Just looking
rest,
at, sorry, just looking at Hobson's car, it doesn't look too bad. So he may have sustained damage just down the left side. So
yeah, the front has got a little bit of a wrinkle. I mean, it was a fairly, he sort of, it's a fairly fast part of the track, of course, but he kind of went up into the wall at not a terrible angle, I guess. It wasn't sort of a head-on accident, so quite a heavy impact to the left front, and then he sort of made secondary contact with the right front. Uh, but I'm just seeing he's going to be getting some repairs done for sure. But that is it's a big shame to see him out of this race because he was having a fantastic run tonight. A very, very strong run from Mr. Hobbo Hobson.
yeah, definitely getting repairs done with the amount of time he's been sitting there, like 37, 38 seconds. So the crew will be working flat out with the 100-mile tape and the hammers.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get it back out on the track. Might be worse than we suspected. But that does leave Hedesheed in the lead of this race. The car that got that little bit of contact there has got the lead. Josh Micklemore, we saw him in strife earlier in the race. The front of that Bitch Motorsport car has seen better days, but he is currently sitting in second in this race. Ryan Jones, of course, we saw him coming in first, the first of the stoppers. Paid out well for him. Foster back on the lead lap as well. He's up in fourth now. Raymond Yeager in fifth. Matty Ray in sixth. Matty Ray having a fantastic run at 17 positions
Race
gained.
cars in.
As we get ready for the restart here, who is going to get this race victory tonight? Well, we thought it would be Hobbo. Who is it going to be now? This is going to be an interesting one to see as we get ready to go green. It's going to be Hedesheed leading away with Micklemore on the outside. Who is going to get a good run off this corner as we go back? Green flag racing at Phoenix. 44 laps remaining tonight.
Great start. Great start. Great start from that whole inside row.
Yeah, it looks like the damage from Micklemore might have just slowed up that outside row a little bit. They just really struggled. And you can see Ryan Jones just flying up the field there. Really lightning start for Jones. He's just got up into second position and is trying to chase down Hedesheed as well as they go too wide behind. It is Raymond Yeager, the man that made an amazing save earlier in the night, has worked his way up to the front of the field at the moment. Andrew Dyson on a bit of a charge. Dyson on some slightly older tyres, but he will have them up to temperature a little bit quicker than the rest of the drivers, I'd say. So this could be a chance for Dyson as Jones loses the rear end, manages to save it, but that's going to cost him momentum. Big snap on the exit of turn 2 there for Jones as there's contact behind. Who's that going into the wall?
Riley and
Gary
Wellman.
Wellman.
Gary Wellman.
They've managed to save it though. We're still green here at Phoenix for the Cup race.
That's all right, mate. You know what I'm going to say? It's okay. It's two taxis.
You love a Fords, you know. It's unfortunately, well, we've got a great race at the front between a Ford and a Camry. So you know, this is what we want to see. The Toyotas working their way up to the front. Go the Toyota. We'll see see how well that one lasts. Foster making a bit of a move on Micklemore now. Foster working his way up with the Mustang,
Got
prancing
the
his way
move
to the
done.
front of the field.
Quite achiever he Ed's been. I do recall even last year he was a ways down in the field and came back to finish at the pointy end somewhere. I just can't recall 100% where he finished last year's race.
No, I'll have to think about that one. But we've seen a couple of times with Foster. He's not had the best qualifying this season, but racecraft definitely showing that off. He's made up 13 positions so far this race, as well as being involved in an accident early on. So good recovery again from Foster, working his way back through the field, getting up into P3. Now trying to chase down Ryan Jones in second, who's trying himself to chase down Heddersheep in first place. So the battle is very much on. Dyson making a move on Micklemore now.
Yeah, I was just going to say that damage on the front of Josh's car is definitely going to be hindering him. So yeah, I expect to see him drop back down in the field a little bit.
Yeah, he's done a great job of keeping it up there or thereabouts for the races and in those positions. But the damage on that car, I think, is really costing him time. He's really struggling with it out there, not able, definitely in straight line speed. It wouldn't surprise me if that car was down a couple of ponies on the straight. We see Philip Wally flying away around trying to make some moves between himself and Riley Curtis. Some all different positions at the moment as well. They're all in different spots. One of the big winners from that one was actually Ruben Phelps. After a disastrous pit stop and keeping out on those tyres, he's managed to get back into 15th position now, and is just running up the field a little bit. So he's on his way back now.
Just looking at the top speeds there, Carl. Daniel Heddersheep, his top speed down the straights is in the 160 mile an hour, and Josh is back down in the 151, 152. So that's definitely down on some ponies.
And not going to be helpful for the rest of this race. Meanwhile, up at the front with a 1.5 second lead now is Heddersheep. So pulling away a little bit, tiny bit of damage on the front of that car as well. Who was coming out? I think that was Wellman just coming out there, just back on the track. Just contact between Wellman and Jones. Ryan Jones getting into the side of so very close to Foster being absolutely wrecked there. Jones really doing well to save that car. Foster just avoiding that by the skin of his teeth. That was a big moment there. Ryan Jones dropping down the order, not surprising, but very well saved. And that could have been a huge wreck. Very good save there from Jones. We see that on the slow-mo there. Just gets caught through, it looks like possibly the side draft or a bit of net code, and it's just turned that car around. You can see sliding away there, Jones, and Foster just nowhere to go, just keeps his foot in it, and luckily slides it through there. Jones just missing him. There was absolutely nothing between those two cars. You couldn't have even fit a cigarette paper between those two just then. That was a huge moment. I reckon Foster's pulse will be up a little bit after that.
I think he might be going for a change of underwear.
If he was sitting on a lump of coal, it would now be a diamond.
Yes.
It was one of those moments, wasn't it? So we are back underway, and it is all go through the race. So keeping an eye on things as we are. Heddersheep still in the lead. I think, unfortunately, Hobson might be out of this race. I think he is done for the night. So all went back out on track actually, so he's managed to get that car repaired. So possibly a lot more damage than we saw. Maybe some engine damage there for the 88 of Hobson.
Yeah,
So that obviously really was heavier hit than we thought. And that's sometimes the thing with these cars is it doesn't look like a big whack, but if you get some engine damage, that can really cost you.
yeah, definitely. Especially if you like took that hit on that corner, so on the right front corner, so it could have done some damage to the radiator, could have done damage to the oil cooler. There's so much on the front of these cars.
Yeah, a lot of things that can go wrong in an accident, and down a few laps, but got the chance of scoring some points at least tonight. And look, that's kind of what you have to salvage from it. It is a long season, of course, still a long way to go. Um, but yeah, that was a dashing blow, I've got to say, because he was looking very good. Meanwhile, Barry Neal making a move on Dylan O'Shea at the moment. Barry Neal having a nice run up there. O'Shea manages to keep the position, but gets up in the wall. Oh, big contact there for O'Shea up in the wall. Manages to hold the car out there now next to Skurlock, and those two side by side now, racing for those positions. Skurley, O'Shea, and Neal fighting for 10th at the moment. Neal up in P9. So this battle for the top 10 is very much on, as they are too wide behind Barry Neal. This fight is definitely on.
I think Daniel's checked out. He's got a 4-second lead over Dyson now, and the battle line for second and third is really there. But look who's sitting in fourth, just waiting for a mistake, Mr. Micklemore.
Yeah, I tell you what, the damage on that car, might be down a few ponies in a straight line, but as the stint goes on, able to sort of even out a little bit for him. And he started to come back alive here, racing against Raymond Yeager there. Matty Ray just sitting in behind them too. But Josh Micklemore has come back into this race and is working his way back up there. Lap time's not that bad, setting similar laps to those around him. So he is able to make this thing work, dragging the carcass of that car to the finish of this race.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Raymond's got anything for him at the moment. Although saying that, he closes right up under the going into the turns.
Yeah, really close stuff there. So that's fantastic. And a nice defensive driving there by Micklemore. He is really putting that car in the right spot at the right time. 24 laps remaining here tonight. There is a whole slew of different strategies going on out there, which is always interesting to see. Andrew Dyson, the only car in the top, other than Philip Worley, the only two cars in the top 10 to only stop once so far tonight.
I was going to say, Josh is using that dog leg perfectly. He's getting a good run down through it, and that's putting him back up in front of Raymond just enough for him to hold him out for the rest of the lap.
Yeah, he's able to keep that's one of the faster parts of the track as well, of course. You get a lot of speed through the dog leg. That's sort of the longest straight. I'd use sort of air quotes there to say it, but it's kind of the longest straighty section of this track. Probably the highest speed section of the track as you get up to turn 1. Turns between turn 2 and 3, not quite as long as that section. So if you can defend in that section when you've got damage to your top speed, then you're doing well, and he is absolutely doing that. Meanwhile, Foster is caught right up to the back of Dyson now. So the battle for P2 is going to be on soon as well. Foster really starting to put pressure on the orange DPR car. So we've got 21 laps remaining. Quite a few damaged cars out there. It's not been the easiest race. It's kind of what we expect at Phoenix. It's not the easiest of tracks, and it's one where when it goes wrong, it is very easy to find a barrier close to you. But we have seen some good racing out here tonight, which is always good. Jason Martin dropping down to 12th position at the moment. Just struggling a little bit there for Jason as well. I'd say it's been an odd season for Martin. He's got a bit of damage on that car as well, but not the usual sort of Jason Martin-esque performances that we've seen in the past. So still getting to grips with this new car, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think we've got a car out there that hasn't got a bent panel on it.
No, I think they're pretty much all wearing a wound now. I don't think there's anyone out there that has anything completely clean. I
Uh,
think one of the cleanest cars I think out there is actually Danny G in P11. So he's currently looking relatively sharp in the orange car, just keeping it out of trouble. And again, as I say with Danny G, we see that sometimes, just again quietly working his way through the field, just not pushing too hard. We've got 18 laps remaining, so if we get a caution now, this could be very useful to somebody with a very clean looking car. Excuse me.
so that's what I was going to say, Carl. So have we seen the end of the cautions, or is Phoenix going to throw a curveball at us and let us see a caution and a sprint race to the end?
Well, there is always that ever-present danger of a green-white checker appearing, and I've got to say, as these laps go on, these cars, they're going to get a little bit tighter. They're going to drift up the track more. It's going to be a bit hard to go side by side. So there is always that chance that you might see a little bit of contact and then somebody going around and that caution happening. And with the amount of damaged cars out there as well, there is that ever-present danger of somebody blowing an engine as well. So that's always something you've got to keep an eye on at this stage of the race. Is if you've got damage on the front of your car like that, the temperatures could start to creep in latter stages of the race. And if the engine blows at the wrong point on the track, that could very well bring out a yellow.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to be able to see some of the temperatures on these things because I think you may be right, Carl. Some of these guys with the damage at the heat's got to be getting to them.
You would think so, and it's been something we've seen a few times with this car is the odd unexpected engine explosion. So got that feeling that we might see something like that happen tonight. And as I say, it's always an ever-present danger. So it's definitely not over. There are quite a few little gaps forming, but there are also some close races as well through the field. So up at the front, nice big gap, 4.5 seconds for Hedeshida over Dyson at the moment. He has got a very comfortable lead over Dyson, who has not got a comfortable lead over Foster. Meanwhile, Micklemore is defending his heart out in the 31 as he is racing against Jaeger and Raymond. So he is really doing his best to keep those guys back. Ryan Jones catching up to this battle as well. So the longer this goes on, the more chance for somebody like Ryan Jones to catch up to this after that hat-like reflex save he had. But he could possibly catch up to this group and throw a spanner in the works, possibly try and get past a few of these guys as well for a slightly higher finish, possibly in the top 5.
Just that. Oh, Raymond's decided to jump down there with him, with Josh now, and he's trying to get that inside line.
Yeah, he's really pushing that inside line, trying his best to get there. And Micklemore is doing a fantastic job of defending, but you've got to say, if there is some damage to the engine, then it's going to be hard to keep it up there and keep battling like this. You usually rely on the acceleration to get there, and I think this might be Jaeger's chance to pull it up in front of Micklemore. He gets a late braking opportunity, but Micklemore does a nice late brake and goes out wide. He's going to try and get
may have
a
it.
little bit of an up and under, but I think this might be Jaeger's corner now.
Yeah, he's got him. Beautiful move. Switch back. He's not going to give this away without a decent fight.
There was no give or take in that one. He absolutely fought tooth and nail for that position. Very nicely done from Raymond Jaeger to get past Micklemore. Matty Ray now seeing his opportunity, trying his best to put the pass on Micklemore, but Micklemore absolutely giving a masterclass of defensive driving at the moment. May not have the fastest car, but his definitely doing a good job of defending, and he's managed to hold it up for so long. But eventually, it's just that thing of eventually you just can only do so much, unfortunately, and has dropped back another position. Still trying to get the pass back on Maddie Ray. Can't quite do it. Maddie Ray getting up to P5. Great racing there. We've got 8 laps remaining here at Phoenix. It is clicking down. The clock is coming down quite quickly. The laps are running shorter and shorter, and we are getting closer towards that finish. Of course, it can all change with just one spin, one caution from here, and the what could be a sure win could turn into disaster right here. But you got to say, Hedesheim looking good. 4.5 second lead over Dyson at the moment. He's pretty safe out there. Dyson got a comfortable lead over Foster. About a second between those two at the moment. Foster just sort of easing it in now. I don't think he's got much he can do to push it up to the back of Dyson, but I'm sure he'll be trying. Jaeger, meanwhile, has got a big gap to make up on Foster, and that's going to be a tricky thing to do with only 7 laps remaining.
Yeah, definitely hard to do anything there.
As Josh Micklemore now has Ryan Jones on his tail. So Micklemore still trying to keep it up there in positions and still having a good run. Up in P6, considering the amount of damage on that car, doing a great job. Dave Douglas just on Facebook. Welcome to the broadcast, Dave. Wish you were out there still. Unfortunate night, but Foster, the SVG of ANZCAR at the moment, when he's having a bad night, he's still doing well. He's definitely been having some of those results recently where he's been having a rough night, but still finishing in a strong position. It's got on with Paul Jackson there. Paul Jackson has had a big moment. A lot of damage to the front of that car. What happened there? Dylan O'Shea getting up into Paul Jackson. Nixon going into the back of Jackson as well. And that's going to be a painful one. That's a lot of damage. Lucky a caution didn't come out there, in all honesty, but Jackson just a bit of a passenger in that ride. But the caution flag not flying. 3 and a bit laps to go here tonight. It is coming down quickly. O'Shea and Danny G having a bit of a battle as well. Danny G trying to make the move on Dylan O'Shea, and he is putting pressure on at the moment. So Danny G is trying to make his run up into the top 10 now. Currently sitting in P11, 18 positions gained in the race. He's trying for a late run in this one to see if he can get a few more points out of this one. Slightly better finish. Currently, biggest movers of the night is Maddie Ray and Danny G, both on 18 positions. But leading the race is Daniel Hedesheim for Natari. 2 laps remaining here. Dyson is starting to push a little bit, but has 4 seconds to make up. A long way in such a short time. A very hard thing to do. Has to be a mistake from Hedesheim for him to get up there. Foster sitting in a comfortable-ish 3rd position with Raymond Jaeger 4th, Maddie Ray in 5th. So, Mark, it's been a pretty chaotic race.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ed'll be happy with the 2 Natari Autosport cars in the top 3. So that's a very good night for any team when they can do that.
As the white flag is shown to Hedesheim, he is just a few meters away now. As it closes down, half a lap remaining of this race. Not far to go. Dyson is trying his best, but nothing he can do in this latter stage of the race. Good, strong 2nd place for him. That's going to be a good one for his championship chances as well. Micklemore has managed to keep it in 6th position, but it is Daniel Hedesheim coming around and taking the victory here at Phoenix, with Dyson in 2nd, Foster 3rd, 4th for Raymond Jaeger, Matty Ray coming home in fifth, just about ahead of Josh Micklemore, who managed to drag that car back into P6 in the end. Ryan Jones seventh, eighth for Michael Skurlock, ninth for Philip Worley, and Dylan O'Shea coming home P10.
Tell you what, that's another great race when you can um don't know where to look on the racetrack to watch the action.
Yeah, it's always a good problem to have when there's too much racing going on and it's hard to know where to look. But we know where to look at the moment. 035 Natari Autosport entry, Daniel Hedersheim taking the victory here tonight for Phoenix Raceway, round number 4 of the Cup Series, and Natari's first win of the year in the Cup Series as well. He is going to be very happy with that. Natari 1-3. DPR still continuing their run of the cars in the top 3 with Andrew Dyson in second. As I say, that's going to be fantastic news for his championship hopes this season.
I'm just looking at the championship points at the moment, mate. There's going to be some big changes at that top half in that top 10 with Neal and Hobson not finishing.
Yeah, that's going to be a big change for those front places. And this is the thing that happens, of course, is this is why a long championship is a tough one to get through because all it takes is a few bad rounds and you can go from absolutely loving life up the front of the field to dropping down a fair few spots. Brendan Hobson managed to get the car home in 26th in the end, unfortunately, 16 laps off the lead. Neil Pearson out of race on 54 laps down. We lost Jake Maloney as well, Dave Douglas and Aidan Schultz, of course. Paul Jackson, the final car to finish 6 laps down. Again, that's going to be big bad news for Paul Jackson, who was having a good run in the championship up at P8
Yeah.
coming into this race. That's going to be a painful one for him.
When you look at that championship, Carl, I think you might find a few of those top 10 will drop out of the top 10, and going into next week's race, you may have a complete new top 10.
That is, I think, it's a part of the way. Of course, Daytona always throwing up some spicy results at the start of the year, and it's helped out a fair few drivers with their championships with those mixed results. But as the season starts to go on, we see a few of those usual names starting to creep up in the championship. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes. And of course, the Lucky 31 race as well, seeing how that pays off and how that one goes for next week. That 31st entrance getting in for next week's race, of course, is going to be
Do
interesting.
do we know who won that yet?
I believe it was Paul Daniel getting the win in that one. So the 313 getting the victory in the Lucky 31. So he has locked himself in for the chance of getting into, well, he's locked himself into 31st next week for the Cup race. So we'll see how that one goes and bring you some details of what happened there. So let us grab down the third place finisher for Natari Autosport, Mr. Edward Foster. Congratulations on a P3 finish tonight, Ed Foster. Obviously, a bit of a tough night out there. 13 positions gained. Worked your way from the mid pack up towards the front once more.
Yeah, I don't know. We caught a lucky caution, didn't we? I can't claim any credit for that. I think on pace, I was around about probably a 6 to 8 place car. Honestly, I always used to struggle here, and then come the end of the Gen 6, I kind of had the place figured out, and now I feel like I'm right back to square one. I'm just not good. So long runs are okay, but the one lap speed is trash, and I ran like crap all night. So yeah, it's a bit of a gift, but I'll take it.
Look, you got to take them when they come, especially if it is a gift like that. I mean, you've had some pretty rough rounds this season and some good comebacks. I mean, I think that's been the story of the start of the season for you is sort of coming back. We saw you get caught up in an early incident as well, and obviously that hurt things too.
Yeah, it was. I mean the one with Barry, like he was blinking in and out. I just couldn't see him. And he was kind of, when your connection's bad and you're sort of jittering all over the road, like I couldn't really tell where he was. And then it looked as though he was sort of sitting up a lane. And I thought, all right, he was a little slow on the apex. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll stick my nose in there and see if I can get the drive off. And then he's disappeared, and then he's reappeared right on my bumper. and yeah, that spun him around, spun me around. I think Dave got caught in it as well. So what do you do? I couldn't see him, so that's it. And of course, that put us back even further than where I started. And then it was just a case of we had that long green flag run. I thought, I've got to try something. Fortunately, it worked, and then coming in again on what turned out to be the last caution was a bit of a gamble because that was my last set of tyres. And but yeah, it turned out okay. So yeah, you got to take the good luck when it comes, as much as you got to kind of fight through the bad stuff.
I've got to ask you as well. There was a moment we saw Ryan Jones having a big, big moment and save right in front of you there. Did you think that was race over there for that moment?
No, man, I saw that coming a mile off.
Very well done. It looks very, very sketchy from up here. Looks a little bit too close, but very well done for getting through that and getting yourself back up into another podium finish for the season. Of course, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, so I guess Daniel's going to give the biggest shout out there tonight with his first win. So that's first win of the year, I should say. So that's awesome after the start that he's had. He's had an absolute horrible run. So, and he's been fast just about everywhere. And in practice, he was when we ran a little bit of practice together, because I always have to work hard at this place because it just does not come naturally to me. But he was really quick, so I was kind of hoping that he was going to be sort of front running pace, and we weren't both going to be, he wasn't going to be mid pack, and I was going to be awful. So, shouts out to him and AJD, and of course Dan's business, which is fully floored. Awesome.
Congratulations, Ed. Well done, and I'm sure we'll see you back in the booth soon.
Hope so. Hope I can go back to how it was a couple of races ago, where I was sort of running at the front on genuine pace and not just having to play the old strategy game to luck into them. So yeah, we'll come back next week and see how we go.
Sure, we'll see you back soon. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks.
Okay, next up for DPR, we will grab down the second place finisher, Mr. Andrew Dyson. Welcome to the booth, Mr. Dyso. Congratulations on a P2 finish tonight.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for that.
Obviously, not the best time for a caution to come out for you.
Oh, not really, but that's just circle racing, isn't it? You win them and lose them with all sorts of stuff, and it could be cautions, could be wrecks into you, could be just losing it yourself. Yeah, but that's just the way this racing goes.
It ended up working out pretty well for you. I mean, a P2, it continues DPR's run of podiums in the ANZCAR Cup Series, which is not a bad thing. It's probably not a bad thing for the old championship for you as well. Obviously, we saw you stay out there after that when that caution came out on slightly older tyres, not too much, I think it was like 6 laps or so. Did that affect you much on the restart? Do you think that maybe helped you a little bit, just having a little bit more heat in there?
I don't really know. I mean, when I came out, I probably only did maybe 1.5 laps or so, so I don't think it was that much of a big difference between. It probably looked like there was more of a different differential in tyres between me and everybody else, so probably not that bad. I also noticed a few cars were running around with a little bit of damage as well, so that probably played into my favour more so than the tyre thing, I think, or at least evened it out. Yeah. Anyway, it worked out. Unluckily for Ed there, he got held up with, I can't remember who it was, but they had a bit of a moment coming out of 2, and I capitalised on that. And from there, you could see how hard it was to pass, and Ed was having a go, and I was feeling it, but luckily held on.
I've got to ask a quick question on teammate Neil Pearson as well. Do you know what happened to him?
Well, all sorts, mate. We'll just put it that way. All sorts.
Okay, because yeah, we saw him drop out, unfortunately, of the race. So shame on that one. I'll wish him well. Anyway, but another strong race for you, another strong finish, of course. That is not a bad thing to have at the start of the season. Multiple strong finishes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's funny you mentioned earlier, I was cruising around those last few laps and I was thinking, gee, this will keep our podium streak going. I hope I can hang on to this. And you start having those psychological battles with yourself where you're like, stop thinking about it. But yeah, I was thinking about it. And it is cool to keep that going. It's the last thing we're clinging onto at the moment. So we'll see how we go next week. We'll try and cling onto it. But even if we don't, it won't be too bad. We've had a good run so far, so we can't complain.
It's not like there's many races in the season. I'm sure you can do it.
We'll try.
No, congratulations tonight, Daiso. Well done, of course, and I'm sure we'll catch you back in the booth soon. But before I let you go, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Shout out to all the guys racing tonight. It was a pretty good one. Few cautions at the start, but we got it together again. Managed to have a couple real good, nice, long green flag runs, so that was fun. Shout out to Simrigs.com, South Wellington Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, MP Designs, Phoenix Smokers, and cheers to all the guys that are supporting the series this year, and all the guys that are supporting ANZCAR, be it the Xfinity cars on Wednesdays or the trucks on Mondays. Appreciate it, and thanks to you guys for putting this all together.
You're always welcome, and when you give us some good racing like that, it makes it a lot easier. Thank you so much, Andrew Dyson. I'm sure we'll catch you back in the booth soon.
Fingers crossed, mate. See you guys.
Okie dokie, and finally we will grab up the winner of the race, a second win in the ANZCAR Cup Series. Daniel Heddershide, congratulations on the victory tonight. First one of the year for yourself. A fantastic win here at Phoenix.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. It's been a long time coming, really. I've been aiming for wins all season to start the season, and I've had some pretty bad luck, so tonight was a bit different, and I'll take it.
Yeah, it came to you at the end, sort of in that race. You had some definite pace out there tonight. Obviously, there was a little moment we saw with yourself and Hobson through the dog leg. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, that was all a bit full on, wasn't it? I knew my tyres were gone, and I was just trying to avoid. I had a car on the outside, and he was coming from the dog leg, so yeah, and unfortunately we just made a bit of contact, and he hit the wall. Not the way I want to win, but I mean, yes. Happens.
Yeah, that is always one of the things you got to watch out for here at Phoenix. But other than that, pretty much you're gonna say faultless race, and you had some serious pace out there as well. We've seen the pace this season, but not always the luck. And finally, it's all merged together for you tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I can't complain. Like the middle stint there, I actually thought we're going to go green for a while. I nailed the pit stop, and then I caught up to Daiso and Hobbo, and they ended up driving away from me. So they were obviously better on tyres than me, but just when I had that clear run at the end of the last stint there, I was just trying to manage it because I could see Daiso and my relatives, but yeah, I was just sort of managing the gap. I didn't want to burn my tyres up and pull away too much, and it paid off.
So how much longer were you thinking of sticking it out there on that final run?
I was going to pretty much run the tank dry. I think I had about 15 laps worth of fuel left. I knew I didn't have the pace to pit and win, so I thought I may as well hang out and hope for the safety car, and it came out.
Yeah, the caution gods delivered tonight, and delivered well. And that run at the end, of course, you put a really nice gap between yourself and Dyson. You just had some good pace there at the end.
Yeah, it was, I think, just having a bit of clear track. I could take the lines I wanted to, and yeah, just look after the tyres a bit more, and I think he'd put up a bit of fight behind. Well, kept Daiso busy behind me, so yeah, thanks for that, and yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good result, and definitely a good result for yourself for locking you very much into the top 20 now. For the next race, which is always a nice thing on the championship points. But you must be pretty chuffed getting their second cup win now, isn't it?
Yep, second cup win, first in this car. I'm feeling pretty good with this car. It's a lot closer to cars I've driven in the past, so yeah, hopefully we see a few more of them this year.
Well, we look forward to catching you back in the booth. Obviously, congratulations to Natari as well. 2 cars in the top 3 tonight. You can't complain too much at that.
Hey, nah, that's pretty good. We can't complain at all. Good result.
No, well done indeed. And before I let you go, the usual thing of shout out. Love to sponsors.
Yes, first off, the Natari boys, Ed in that race, you helped me out a little bit. Keeping Daiso behind, and yeah, AJD and Fully Flawed.
Congratulations, Daniel Heddershide, and well done on the second win of your ANZCAR Cup career. First one of 2022 in the new car. I'm sure we'll catch you back in the booth soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So, Mark, what a race. We had some great racing through there. A few cautions, unfortunately, but some really good racing throughout the field.
Yeah, look, I think no matter across the 3 leagues, as I said before, everyone's still getting used to these cars. They're so much different to the last gen. I mean to say, you know yourself, Carl, how hard they are to drive. I think the racing's only going to get better, as iRacing gets the setups better and as guys get more comfortable in the cars. I can see this next gen going to give us some great racing towards the back end of the season, even closer than what we're seeing now.
Yeah, that is a tantalizing thought. We've had some brilliant close finishes so far this season. If we get closer again, oh, that's going to make it fun. Of course, we are heading to Atlanta next week. Very different sort of style of racing there, very different speedway.
Yeah, definitely. And if the fans will have me back and you'll have me back, Carl, I'll be here next week because there ain't no way I want to miss that one.
We look forward to it, Mark. It's been a pleasure having you back here in the booth. Always helpful to have an extra voice and gives Mr. Matt Hunter the chance to play around with the cameras a little bit more and makes his life a little bit easier. A big thank you, of course, to Matt Hunter on the cameras tonight, to Mark Johansson joining me here in the booth. We wish you all well, and of course, 24/7 Sim Services for bringing you the Cup Series. And we will see you next week for round number 5 at Atlanta. This is me, Carl Wilkinson, wishing you all a lovely night. Bye bye.